Well, even as a congressional delegation led by House Speaker Mike Johnson tours the southern border today, the House Homeland Security Committee has formally moved forward with impeachment proceedings for Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Now, this comes as earlier this week, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials confirmed that there were 302,000 migrants encounters last month on the border, marking the highest number of monthly illegal crossings ever recorded. The first Mayorkas impeachment hearing, scheduled for next week, actually a week from today, has been named Havoc in the Heartland. How Secretary Mayorkas' failed leadership has impacted the states. The Biden administration's border control disaster has turned every state into a border state. And we're now seeing the strain this places on local governments. Joining me now to discuss this is Dr. Tim Durkee, who is an alderman on the Rockford, Illinois City Council. Dr. Durkee, welcome to Washington Watch. All right. Dr. Durkee, welcome.
Thank you.
So let me ask you this. Earlier this week, a plane carrying approximately 350 migrants landed at the Rockford International Airport. Tell us what happened.
Well, the flight originated, we believe, from Texas at about 340 migrants, and they were escorted to buses that were waiting for them. And the buses then left the Rockford terminal and then proceeded to Chicago.
Now, let me just ask you this. There's concern in suburban communities like yours, where you serve as an alderman. Could Rockford have accommodated 350 new people overnight?
No, not without displacing, probably people in hotels. But our hotels may or may not have accommodated them on a temporary basis. But to accommodate them on a full-time basis would be difficult because somebody pay the hotel bill, but we do not have that capacity.
Has this, this is happening in communities all across the country, as we now see, Governor of Texas and others that are busing these illegal migrants from their states to other states up north, a lot to sanctuary cities like New York and Chicago. Has this raised the level of awareness of the problem of illegal immigration?
Yeah, there was some chatter in our area, the Rockford area, as to some of the charitable organizations bringing migrants into the Rockford City area. It's more rumor than it is proven, but we sort of anticipate that may happen at some point because of our proximity to Chicago.
You are full-time. You're a doctor. You serve on the council there. What are your concerns? You've expressed some concerns about what may be happening as these folks are coming in from all over the place into communities across America.
Well, one of the underplayed concerns that I have as a physician, and physicians have, is I've actually done some missionary work overseas. But there are any number of infectious and communicable diseases that people can bring across the border with them that can result in exposure to unsuspecting citizens of the United States. For instance, polio. There are some forms of tuberculosis that are antibiotic resistant. There's actually leprosy that still exists in different countries that's communicable. But yeah, among that and other things like measles, and then we have a certain population in the United States that either is not vaccinated for one reason or another. Either they don't want to be vaccinated or they just let it slide. And then they can fall victim to infectious diseases that people may across.
So when we're talking about people at this volume, where we just last month over 300,000 crossed the southern border. That's a lot of folks that are being sent to communities across the country. At the local level, unlike the federal government, you just can't print money. You've got to work within the budget that you have as a city. What are some of the ways you've looked at this now that this is coming closer to home? How will this impact communities?
Well, we haven't done a deliberate, detailed study on our own and looked at it, but Rockford is a great city full of good folks. We are recovering from the pandemic and seeing some resurgence in economic activity and development. We do have our own challenges within our population. In the state of Illinois, we have the highest, in a sense, number of housing units per capita in the state of Illinois, public housing and subsidized housing units. So we have a pretty substantial population that we support. Our problem is the median household income in Rockford is somewhere around $54,000. And to have any kind of substantial influx of the challenges that illegal aliens would bring to bear in Rockford would raise some considerable concerns. They would obviously tax our school system, our healthcare systems. Our healthcare systems here in Rockford are operating on a pretty thin margin. And so these added costs would be difficult for us to bear here.
Doctor, we're up against a break, but just final question for you very quickly. Do you see the city council and others calling upon the federal government to resolve this issue, to stem the flow?
Not quite yet. It really hasn't come across. We did have some discussion some years ago about sort of an effort to become somewhat of a sanctuary city, and that effort was voted down several years ago. So we have talked, not with the current crisis, not with this current.
Well, it might be time to revisit the topic, because it looks like this is going to continue unless the Biden administration does something at the southern border. Dr. Durkee, I want to thank you for joining us. Thanks so much for taking time to be with us today.